This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. Well, I'm sure you were going to be doing some of those tricks because the very next day, or actually it's the same day, June 13th. Now, this is a busy day because you start your day in Atlanta doing the TV taping. That night, there is a UWF show at the Superdome with Steve Williams and Dick Murdoch on top. But there's also a big show for Jim Crockett here in Baltimore. I guess two shows, actually. They ran, we'd call it a spot show, I guess, in Florence, South Carolina. But there's 5,200 fans here in Baltimore to see Flair and Garvin on top, but then Arn Anderson in singles action against Kendall Windham. But there's two guys who are not going to make that Florence, South Carolina show, Chris Champion and Sean Royal. Now, to add context to what we're talking about one more time, June 11th is Terry Taylor's bad car wreck that results in this major operation where he's losing part of his small and large intestines and losing his appendix. 2 days later, on June 13th, Chris Champion and Sean Royal are also in a car wreck. This time it's driving from TV here in Atlanta to their spot show in Florence, South Carolina. Sadly, the car would hydroplane in the rain. Both men are thrown through the windshield and the car explodes. Royal suffers a major burns. Champion's arm is broken in two places. And man, it's rare to hear about a bad accident like this in wrestling. And now you got two days apart. What do you remember hearing about this?
I'm embarrassed to say I have no recollection of it. And that's frightening. So I'm sure it would have been a huge, topic of conversation because there weren't that many wrecks, and having two that bad, that close together.
It's crazy.
God, my ability to remember maybe is that's what somehow God is protecting me from me, because that would have been something that would have shook all of us up. Hey, wait a minute. A few days apart.
And a car exploding, that's not a sentence you hear very often. This ain't a Lethal Weapon movie. This is real life.
It ain't like hitting a pothole and blowing out a tire and being in the middle of nowhere in Louisiana with no help and no way to get any. I mean, that's a minor deal when you start thinking about these two wrecks. Wow.
No doubt. Well, wrestling, the show goes on. You're doing a double shot the very next day. You start your day in Asheville, North Carolina, taking on Ron Garvin. And then that night, you're back at the Coliseum in Charlotte. You got 6,400 fans there watching you once again wrestle Kendall Windham. On top, it's Ric Flair and Jimmy Garvin in a no time limit match. And it's a no DQ match as well. Chat me up. What do you remember about these double shots in 87? Is there a point where, you're starting to run a little ragged, you get a little road weary, you start to get a little burnout, I think is the phrase, or because they're so close to home, especially on a night like, you're finishing in Charlotte, you're in your own bed that night. Does the schedule and the routing lend itself to, no, we were pretty good?
For that particular day, being the fact that we were close to home and you would end up sleeping in your bed, meant everything, because there was a short drive. You could do it in your sleep, no problem. The fact that I was wrestling Kendall Windham was a night off. So that was a double positive on that side of the board. That would have been one of those days that I would have kicked back and went, I got it dicked today. And I would.
Let's talk about what's next here. The 15th, you're back on the road. You'll be in Greenville, South Carolina. This time you're working in the main event. It's Ricky and Robert against you and Lex, but you're going on last. How would your match change from if you and Lex were wrestling Ricky and Robert middle of the card versus the main event? Besides going longer, does anything else change in your preparation?
No. Would have had the exact same match we would have had on last. No difference. There wouldn't have been any difference. It would have been me shining those two guys as best I could, making them as big a star as I could, and they would turn around and give that back to Luger, who would come in and start bouncing these guys around a little bit. And at the end of the day and the end of the match, you had three big stars and one human Super Bowl getting his ass handed to him. And you know what? The formula worked.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.